Hey guys, Ewan here with the Old School Labs, and we have some updates of some bodybuilders for you today in this video. And first off, we have Patrick Moore with his, well, let's call it most muscular pose, but it's a bathroom selfie really. And he looks big, and that's the thing with Patrick. That was the thing that he was missing the most. Like, when you talk about Phil Heath, you want to see his stomach, you want to see his belly, you want to see his gut missing, right? You want to see a good proper midsection. But if you're talking about Patrick Moore, what you want to see is more size, and he certainly does look bigger. Well, at least in this photo. So we have another photo, actually two more photos of himself, and now this one is most muscular, and that's a good pose for him, kind of. I mean, he has pretty big arms, right? Some would say that maybe they are cintle-ish, you know, but most people would definitely disagree with that. He just has a bit weird shape, right? He has those peaky, super peaky biceps and triceps. So most muscular, that's an arm pose, and it looks good on him. He looks pretty thick, but let's take a look at his back lat spread and back double bicep. So this is also recent. This is his most recent physique update in his kitchen. And does he look bigger from behind? Maybe he does. I mean, it's not something super significant. He probably looks a little bit fuller and bigger from the front. His back kind of seems, his torso seems a little bit short, so it doesn't look super huge, you know, from behind, from this pose. I don't know, maybe he lifted his pants up a little bit too much. I don't know, but that lower part of his back, the lower lats, they look pretty thick, right? So it seems like he did gain some muscle in the past off season. I'm sure you guys remember his previous edition at the Mr. Olympia where he cracked the top 10, and the reason for that was definitely not the mass that he had. No, it was conditioning mainly, and his, I guess, aesthetic shape. I don't know how much aesthetics play a role in today's modern bodybuilding in the open division, but the conditioning definitely does play a large role, and some people would even say that he deserved better, that he deserved more. Patrick Moore deserved more than 10th place. Right? Because he was more conditioned than for example, Cedric McMillan right here. Or Akim Williams, who beat him but wasn't in this lineup, in this call-out. This was just quarter turns before the actual call-outs. So his strong side was his conditioning. So he peaked perfectly for this Mr. Olympia. He didn't do that exactly at the Arnold Classic, so he didn't place that well. But the Mr. Olympia, yeah, he was really spot on. And he was smaller than many of the guys that he was able to beat. How? Well, again, with conditioning. So that's his strongest suit, and hopefully he will bring the conditioning again next time he competes. But now let's check his rear double bicep, and this is it. I mean, does it look thicker? Does it look bigger? It's not like some huge difference. It's not like Dorian Yates 92 to 93, or when Phil Heath 2010 to 2011. It's not some kind of drastic change. Ronnie Coleman, 1997 to 1998, and you get the point. So he isn't really completely different, right? He didn't gain a ton of muscle, but he seems like he has gained some fullness. Hopefully it will stay. Hopefully it's not just water weight. Hopefully he will be bigger at the stage, and he will bring the same conditioning as before. Now you've seen his physique updates, and he's an open guy. And there was a lot of discussion, a lot of controversy. Should he go to classic physique? And you guys know all about that probably at this point. It was funny. I mean, how Patrick gets triggered when somebody mentions that. And I triggered him as well with my videos. But let's take a look at George Peterson, who was a classic physique guy last year, but actually made a transfer to 212. And he will be competing in 212 this year. And he posted a physique update. And let's take a look at this, and you tell me what you think. I never really liked this guy as a classic physique guy, but as far as muscle density, I always admired that. And take a look at this. Look at the chest. Wow. Just wow. Look at the size of those pecs. And I don't know if it's going to turn around, but the back is insane. It's absolutely insane. And this guy was in classic physique just before. And what do you find more impressive, this or Patrick Moore's physique? I find this impressive. Way more than Patrick Moore's physique. I mean, look at this. Look at this. Look at the size of that waist as well. Not super aesthetic for classic physique. You know, he is no Chris Bumstead, right? But in 212 or in open bodybuilding, he's going to do great. And can he win the 212 Mr. Olympia title? Now, this is something I ask you guys, and I know it's not exactly right time to ask that question because he never really competed in 212. So it's kind of a bold statement to say that I think that he can win it. Actually, I mean, who is the current champion? Kemal El-Gargni. Is he super impressive? Not as impressive as George. Yeah, he's maybe more conditioned, but George never lacked conditioning. I'm sure he's gonna bring his absolute best when it comes to conditioning. Derek Lansford is insane. He's really huge, but he lacks the conditioning. He never really brought it. Maybe he's like Big Ramy in that way. Maybe he will never bring the conditioning. If he brings the conditioning, I think he's gonna be unbeatable because that guy is just insane. He's a monster. He's really huge, but if you talk about conditioning and completeness and the small waist and this crazy illusion that George, for example, has, then, I think he has a legitimate chance of becoming the next 212 Mr. Olympia champion. So you've seen George, and now you can see the defending champion, Kemal El-Gargni, in his off-season. This doesn't really mean anything. It's the off-season for him. I mean, Mr. Olympia is not happening anytime soon. He has enough time to get in shape. He's not that bad for the off-season, but it's nothing impressive. This guy becomes impressive when he's shredded. He doesn't look super impressive when he's in his off-season, like Derek Lansford does, for example. So, in the end of the day, it's gonna come down to conditioning, I believe. As far as muscularity, I think these guys are pretty close, probably on the same or similar level. Maybe Kemal is a little bit thicker, but when he gets conditioned, he kind of loses the fullness, while George keeps it, or even gets even fuller. So we'll see what happens in the end, but it's gonna be a battle for sure. We're gonna see Peterson, but next year, not this year, in that 212 division as well. So 212 is becoming an interesting division, actually, at least for me. I don't know about you guys, but I find it interesting at this point because of these classic guys who are making their step into a bigger division. And here is Peterson, and he grew like a lot. He really grew. And I don't know why he's waiting for 221. I would compete this year if I was him because he gained like a lot. Seriously, I mean, look at him. He's a size freak right now, especially in those arms. Yeah, his chest is shallow, but I'm sure he improved that as well. That's basically the only weakness that he has. Everything else is just right there, and it is really impressive. So I would love to see him compete this year. He said it's not gonna happen. Maybe it happens, maybe he changes his mind, but whatever. When it happens, it's gonna be awesome. Alright, next we have a physique update of Hunter Labrada, son of Lil Labrada, of course, and this guy is packing a lot of mass lately. I mean, look at him. He really gained so much. Now, of course, he doesn't look as aesthetic as his father used to look back in the 80s and the 90s, but it's a new era. It's a new era, and it's all about the fullness. Yeah, he doesn't have that granite look that his father had, but what he has is the fullness and the size, the mass, and that's what they're looking for today. And he's doing great. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing him compete in a pro stage. I mean, he turned pro a year before last, and now he's going to have his pro debut. He's doing Tampa Pro, and I don't know what other shows, but we'll see. I believe he's going to collide against Ian Valliere, the Tampa Pro. Now, I don't think he's going to be able to beat Ian. He's complete, right? But he doesn't have the largest frame. He's a little bit short. He's really thick. I mean, he has a lot of muscle on that small frame, but he's a bit short. And we'll see how that turns out. I'm definitely excited about seeing him. And here's his meal plan as well. He doesn't eat that much. I mean, yeah, he eats a lot, but not as much as I would expect. I thought these guys are eating much more than this. Anyways, he gained a lot of muscle and can't wait to see him on stage. Okay, next we have a training video of Dexter Jackson, who just started training recently, and he's getting bigger every day. I mean, that's Dexter. He as he says in this description of the video, he is slowly increasing the weight. And as you can see, he doesn't do a lot of compound movements. He's being smart as far as about training. I don't know what he's doing with the drugs and that kind of stuff. I mean, he's 50 years old after all. I don't know how smart it is to do bodybuilding at that age, but if he enjoys it, I mean, I guess it's worth it, right? Anyways, he's training smart, so he won't get an injury, probably. I mean, he's playing it safe as possible. Mr. Olympia 2020 is going to be the last show that he's going to do ever. Not his last Mr. Olympia like his coach George Parra said. No, his last show in his career. So he's retiring. But you know, these bodybuilders, they say they're retiring and then they come back a year later, right? So it's like they never retired, really. So, but I don't think that's the case with Dexter. I mean, I think when he says something, he does that. He's not like, for example, Johnny Jackson, who announced retirement and then next year he came back. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense. I don't think that's the case with Dexter. Also, Dexter is a different caliber of bodybuilders. He's gonna go down as one of the best bodybuilders in history. I mean, considering how many shows he has won. And we'll see how he does the Mr. Olympia. Imagine him winning the Mr. Olympia at 50 years of age. That would be... Actually, he's going to turn 51, I believe, because it's going to happen in December. Yeah, he's turning 51, I think, in November, something like that. So we'll see. We'll see how he looks. It's going to be amazing to see him on stage once again, and I'm sure he's going to look great. And I'm going to leave you off, guys, with a training video of William Bonac. And you guys know, if you follow this channel, that I'm a firm believer that these top guys, especially William Bonac, are using site enhancement oil. And you can see it in his arms right here. I mean, I'm sure many of you will be like, you're crazy, you're blind, that's pure muscle, because there is a vein. I can see a vein, and that means it's real muscle. No, it does not mean if you see a vein that it is real muscle. No. Before you say something like that, educate yourself. Dave Palumbo, who is selling this stuff, said that most pros are actually buying it from him and that most pros are actually using it. And that if you inject it properly, deep under your muscle, in a deep part of the tissue, you will never be able to notice it. And that's how it's done properly. Seeing a vein does not mean that you're not using Synthol. You do not inject it under your skin, you inject it under the muscle, in a deep part of a muscle. You're gonna be able to see striations and skin. It's just gonna push the muscle to the skin. It's gonna make it look bigger, more bulgy and harder and so on. So yeah, all of the pros are basically doing it, using it in one body part or the other, and I think it's pretty obvious with William Bonac, especially his biceps. So that's gonna do it for this video, guys. Whatever you think about any of the part of this video, tell me down below in the comment section. If you enjoyed it, please like it. If you want to see more bodybuilding content like this, subscribe to this channel. All the best, guys, and keep it old school.